Welcome, welcome everyone. My name is Isabel Starck and I'm your hostess for the Empower Hour. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to have you here. And I want to go over a few housekeeping tips before we get started. So if you are watching through YouTube and you'd like to join the conversation, what you'll need to do is you need to tap the button down here that says join the conversation. It'll pop you into the YouTube Google Plus page. And at that point, you're going to hover over this area or this area. There are the 9 Google Squares. Hover over, you'll see a Q&A app open up. Click on that, a side panel opens up, and you can type in your questions there so we can answer them live for you. So this is episode 16, and I'm really, really excited to have you because I have some dear friends of mine on the line today with us who are going to be talking about all things health and all things body luxe. And I'm sure you're wondering what the heck that is, right? So we're going to have them tell us all about it. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have them introduce themselves and welcome to the floor. We have Violet and Lauren White. Welcome!
Hello, thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves and let everybody know how you basically got started, like who you are, where you got started, and I've obviously included the link for everybody's website to see, but tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Who goes first? Well, that's always a debate. Who's first? Who's talking? What are we talking about? So that's always interesting. So who we are is I'm Violet White, and this is Lauren, but she goes by Lola White, and we're very unique in that we're mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. And a lot of people think we're mother and daughter because we get along so well and things go so smoothly between us, like we've known each other all our lives, but we actually are a unique, in-love mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. How we got started is, I think I started the journey first and lost weight at a point in my life where most women, and myself included, think it's kind of downhill from here. And, you know, your best years were spent taking care of your family and doing all the things you should do. And in my 40s, I decided, nah, not me. I'm not going down. And I decided to improve myself at that point in my life and do things I never thought I would do, entering this second phase of my life. And really, I see it as a new beginning. And when I had such great success and such great experience, I knew that I wanted to take my mentoring and coaching skills out to women and help them in the same way also. And so I started a business. And then I met Lola through my son and knew instantly that I wanted her to take this ride with me. So let her tell her story.
Yeah. So yes, Lola White here. I have been pretty much overweight all my life, and this really hindered me from really seeking out true, meaning, lasting relationships, you know, and especially with my husband, dating how could this man love me, and all of that, being really overweight and just having very low self-esteem. And originally when we started dating, I wasn't doing anything healthy. I mean, the only thing so-called healthy that I was doing was a gym rat. I was in the gym maybe 5-6 times a week, killing it on the treadmill, exercising, and just the weight wouldn't go. You know, the weight would not budge. And he introduced me one week and said, hey, let's do a cleanse week. And I was like, a cleanse week? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, we're going to detox this week. And I'm like, a guy who wants to detox? But I liked him and I wanted to impress him at the time. So I was like, hey, I'll just, you know, how bad could it be, right?
Yeah, we typical, right? We get inspired by our man and, you know.
Yeah. So he was all about raising the bar, and he was in school, you know, with health, with being an RN at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. Green GOP for 7 days. I mean, there was no food. We were irritable. I mean, if any time that the relationship was going to be broken, it would have been this week, because he was cranky, I was cranky. But anyways, I did it. And it was something about doing that showed me I could really start to think outside of the box. Like, what was this about? And my mom had been into health and wellness, in and out of life, and herbs and all of that. And she was so fascinated and this obsession with it that I really started to repel it any health food store that we went in, any ingredients, any label reading she would do, I would just like roll my eyes and just be like, I really want to go home, you know? And so I was in the resistance mode for it. But with him, it was like, hey, you know, what can we do next? And that's
did you ever feel at that point that you had any weight to lose, or were you really comfortable and feeling good with your body?
No, I was about 45, 50 pounds overweight, and being barely clearing 5'1". I mean, my health had been compromised. There was a lot of other things going on, and so it wasn't really just to be healthy. It was just to impress him at the time, you know. I wasn't thinking of weight loss. I was just thinking trying something different, and it just really opened up a whole nother world. And when I met Violet at the time, she was doing a lot with digging deeper in health and getting involved into her journey. And she asked me to come on, and that's really where things started to take off. So yeah, my story starts with a 7-day juice cleanse of drinking green gop, which I wouldn't recommend nowadays, right? I wouldn't do that even for myself, but it was a jump start for me.
Yeah, 7 days is quite a long time. I mean, I've actually done some cleanses. I've done the lemonade cayenne thing. Yeah, it's pretty interesting what actually comes out and what it does to your body. But I'm really happy to hear that it had the positive effect that it had on you.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, you know, Isabel, too, in that it was obvious that Lola wanted to lose weight. And she would go running 6, 7 miles at a time, but no weight was coming off. And that's when I tried to, you know, delicately introduce to her that you're gonna work out to death, kill yourself, but the food, we have to start looking at your food, your diet, what's going on in your body that it's so resistant to losing weight. And once we found what worked for her, there was no stopping her. She lost that 50 pounds, looked amazing her wedding day, because in the beginning she was looking at full wedding dresses. You know, we would go to the bridal stores and well, let me tell you, she wore the most fitted dress showing every curve and beautiful waistline. So within that, you know, and it just, in addition to that, this woman blossomed that, you know, really you couldn't find before. So it's a beginning for both of us, is getting control of our body image and our health. And so, and then we winded up going back to school together, learning more about the body, learning more about nutrition. And that was quite a ride, going to school, traveling together for school, you know, and that's when we realized this could be a great union, and we could really help women on all spectrums, you know, from young to older and beyond. You know, we knew that together we just had so much more to offer with different gifts and being in the different stage of womanhood.
Yeah, now from your bio as well, you're both nutritionists, right? You're licensed nutritionists.
No, we're not. We're nutritional therapist practitioners, and
okay.
and we are certified health coaches, and we are certified nutritional therapists, and we also are certified and in several coaching modalities, because that's something we've come to realize in helping women lose weight, that it was so much more than just about what do I eat, what do I do, because many women came to us already knowing, reading every book and Googling everything, and they knew so much, they just couldn't implement it. They just couldn't make any real strides toward their health goals and their weight goals. So we knew that we had to become really proficient and excellent coaches, as well as know about nutrition. And
so how does the mindset have to do with actually losing the weight?
Well, mindset is in anything we put our endeavors to, right? Anything. If our mindset, and I didn't even realize this in the beginning, you know, I remember when I started learning about mindset and emotional blocks and limiting beliefs. I don't like to even use those expressions too much with new clients, because most people out there, unless you're in this arena, what does that mean? You know, I remember when I tried to start coaching on my husband, and he was like, ask, what kind of question is that? You know? So the average person doesn't know about this, but yes, mindset, no matter what it is we're trying to accomplish. But then what we started realizing is why people overeat or return to habits they don't want to, why they can't seem to stick to anything they start, is so much emotional baggage along with that. And people use different things to handle all those different emotional roller coaster they're going through. So we really had to be effective coaches. So, you know, we have different coaching modalities that we bring in depending on the client and what's best for them. And, you know, transformational coaching method, I have a mastery level. We also both have EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, many people refer to it, and others. And Lola is working on becoming ICF certified. So she's taking it to another level.
Mm-hmm. Because you can have everything in place for a client, a plan, a workout, an eating regimen. And this is even with what some of the doctors that we work with, their issue is actually getting compliance, providing that accountability, providing that support for their patients. They don't have the ability to offer that. And we really recognize the importance and the critical value of these coaching modalities, because we can actually work with the client to get them compliance and allow them to understand that we're not forcing them or driving them to do anything, that it's really coming from within. And it's part of this evolving piece. And that's a lot of what we both have been through, you know, is this self-development piece that really has allowed us eager out of the gates to really be like a sponge and soak it up and apply it in our lives and really show people what really is possible, you know. And for me,
and really from you then, that when people actually come to work with you, I mean, you're mentioning, you know, clients, you have doctors on board doing either your program or actually working together with them. So when a client actually comes to you, they're getting so much more than just, you know, lose the weight. It's more about long term.
Yes. Correct. That is our goal. I am the one person who doesn't want a repeat client. They can work with me in a whole new way. And, you know, we do have programs that we can take it further, but I don't want them to come back to lose that 30 pounds again. I mean, if everything goes the way I want and what that client wants is, this is long term. You know, I remember when I used to run to the TV for every ad that came on about weight loss. And a year or two after I lost all the weight, I mean, I didn't have a pound to lose, I was still doing that. It's so ingrained in us that I need to lose 5 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds. Oh, I wish I could lose 15 pounds. That it's so hard to even shake it. And that's what I love, is that I no longer think about losing weight. I no longer have to talk about I need to lose weight or look at the latest diet. And that's what I want for my clients, that this is a lifelong change for them. And getting to that point, you need support. I needed support. And that's what we realized too. So it's not about handing someone a diet. It's not about, oh, this is how I lost the weight, you can lose it too. It's about that support. It's about that accountability. It's about respecting their uniqueness as a woman and starting where they are and taking them through their own journey, not my journey, through their own journey. So they can look back and leave that behind too.
So what do you think has caused the most success in you actually being able to carry this through for years?
And one more time, Isabel. I'm sorry, you cut.
What tools do you think have benefited you most to be able to have the success and carry it on for as many years as you have?
I'll let you answer.
What tools
do you think has helped you the most?
I mean, there's so many.
You mentioned that you got coaching in the beginning, so you actually did the work yourselves. But you know, how Violet was mentioning, like, it was almost still a habit that you would look up these commercials or, you know, watch something on maybe at the computer as for losing weight, but you really didn't need to do it anymore. So what is it that, like, what's the secret sauce? Like, or how do you help your clients continue to keep that weight off for the long term?
To me, it's very different for every client, right? And for my journey moving forward, like, it's been about being really aware, being really conscious of what the body needs. And with all these crowded, overwhelming nutritional beliefs and, you know, self-distorted ideas of even images, right? With all that cloudiness, it was really hard to get a clear vision of what I wanted really and what my outcome was and why did I want that. So I think it's really going back to the client's why and going back to basics, really basics of food, basics of emotions, basic of getting really in tune with yourself and helping these women to develop this intuitive piece really that allows them to connect with what do they need. I can't tell them what they need. They have to be able to recognize that. So I would have to say the intuitive piece for these women, the awareness, and really getting back to basics for me and working with a lot of my clients.
And yes, Isabel, yes, your own coach, your own mentor is very important. Until I did that and started working on my inner self, like I had the outer self rocking, and it can be a facade sometimes, right? Because what's going on inside didn't match still completely. Mm-hmm. So that's where that mentor, that's where that, right, finding that right coach for you, because there's an app for everything, there's a coach for everything. And like you yourself and what you do, it's so important. I still need a coach for different areas of my life. And if I had to take back on a coach for my personal development, I would do it in a heartbeat. You know, so that did make a big difference of going deeper as a woman. Like I said before, this was foreign to me. Mm-hmm. And I realize now that was the link, that was the piece missing, that made me whole. Mm-hmm. That made me be able to reach my goals and maintain them. And by the way, I don't ever feel like there's a finish line to this. Our journey is ongoing. Lola and I will be growing and developing and learning for as long as we're on this earth. And that's what we want to share. Every growth spurt, we just want to keep sharing it and teaching it and mentoring others with what we do, with what we learn. It never ends.
Yeah.
You touch on the fact of, hiring your own coach and how important that step was to actually seeing your success. What kind of tips do you actually have for our viewers as to finding that coach? Like, did you basically have success with your first coach? Did you have to go through multiple coaches? What kind of tips do you have for our viewers on that?
Well, my health and weight loss journey began with my first coach. She inspired me. And I remember sitting across from her, and because I have been in mentor type positions throughout my life and career, I remember sitting across from her and going, I could do this. I want to do this. I want to do what she's doing. She is looking across at me over a desk and inspiring me to be better. She was doing things I wanted to do. And I said, I could do this too. Right then I knew. So she was a big impact on me, yes. But I went on at each stage to realize I need now for this growth, someone different, someone else. And how I found that person is, we interview. That's what we should do. We should interview. Just like, the coach should be interviewing you too when they're taking on a client. So I look at it that way. If I'm looking for a coach for some area of my life, I go in and around and interview them and see, are they right for me? Mm-hmm. Also, are they doing exactly what I need? What is their approach? How are they coaching? Who are other people that they've coached? But most of all, it's interviewing, because that's where you find that connection. In that conversation, you'll know if it's right.
The right coach.
If it's right. And both ways. It has to be a good fit. I call that such an intimate relationship, that coach-and-client relationship. It's such an intimate relationship. So it has to be a good fit.
And you never know who you're going to be connected to, right? Through these coaching, either a coaching program or a one-on-one coach. There's just so many doors that start to open because you start to really be more open about things and open about evolving. So in any step forward in our self-development or evolving or learning, nutrition, whatever it has always been able to connect us with critical people in our lives that take us again to that next step, and always looking at really raising the bar, because as we're growing and evolving, we're able to help our clients along as well. So there's never this level of being stagnant where we are. And I think that that's so important as entrepreneurs that were never in that stagnant or that feeling of being complacent.
Well, I really love to hear you guys say that, because I do agree. I mean, obviously the interviewing process is important, but you know, even going back to Violet and how you had this one person who was sitting in front of you and you really knew, like, she was your inspiration. Like, you knew that you could do what it is that she was doing, and that you could accomplish it. So yeah, I definitely believe in the connection. You need to have that, because it's really difficult to try to learn from a coach that maybe you're not in alignment with.
Right.
And there are certain clients, even as a coach myself, that you really realize I can't take you to where you want to go, or, you know, our personalities just are not on the same wavelength.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's actually 20 minutes in. I just wanted to remind everybody, if you're watching live and you would like to join the conversation and ask these two beautiful ladies a question about health, fitness, or body luxe living, all you have to do is click on the box here that says join the conversation. And that will open up a Google Plus page. And at that point, you'll hover over the 9 Google squares. They're either in this area or this area, depending on your screen. And you hover over that with your mouse, click on the Q&A app, and then you'll have a sidebar open up. You can type in your question there, and I will receive it on my end. So there you go. So let's get to some of the questions that all of our viewers know that I typically ask of our guests, and also a few of them that were sent in prior to this recording, or to this actual broadcast. It's not recorded yet. It's recording now. One of the things that I always like to ask of my guests is the fact of how you define success. Now, we had a little taste of this before we actually went live, but I would love to hear from each of you how it is that you define success, you know, as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a mother.
What we talked about earlier is that can even change throughout the day, right? You know, one of my coaching mentors mentioned once that is like the broadest question, and it really is different for each and every person. It's very interesting, which shows you that everybody's coming from a different place. Everybody walks this world on kind of their own map of things, their own outlook of things. So, and if you just ask that one question to 100 people and see all the answers you get, you realize that just how we all look at things differently. And so for me, it does, I guess, change from day to day of what I'm trying to do and accomplish. But most of all, it's each and every goal I'm trying to achieve is getting there. Yes, success. And what now next? So there's never like this plateau of success, but it's an ongoing. Awesome.
How about you, Lola?
Yeah, when I saw the question, it was like my mind was going in so many different directions, because there is, like she said, so many things in different parts in your life where it's like, okay, this equates success and this equates success. And what to me has equated success now is just the evolving piece, and really knowing that you're in the process of in progression or working towards whatever your goals are, feeling that awareness, feeling accomplished in whatever aspect of your life. And it doesn't have to just be business. You know, our life can be successful. And I think people kind of distort the view of the business success and monetary gains as maybe finding success in other areas of our life, or even just that sense of finding your voice again. And for me, success has been finding my voice and standing in my power and approaching, I just hit 30, and it was just such a critical, pivotal turning point in my life, in becoming this woman, right? And success for me has changed in so many different directions, but it's been so beautiful in being able to recognize and voice what it is I want, what it is I need, and how we have the ability to also help people with that, and not being afraid or shamed to say that and stand in our own power. So for me right now, that's success, and raising my daughter amongst these women who really feel broken. They're not broken, but they feel broken, and creating that new legacy. So that has been a major part of both of our success, you know.
Well, I have to say, I mean, the short time that I have known you, I mean, it's been just a little bit over a year now. I have actually seen your success and how it has transformed your life and transformed you. I mean, you said, you hit that milestone of 30, and I think a lot of people every decade, we kind of hit this big milestone and, what are we going to do with our lives next? But it's been wonderful to actually see your transformation and to see what it is that you're bringing now to the world at large. So I'm really happy to be a part of that life.
Thank you. Thank you. And, originally when this journey started, it was about the weight somewhat, right? But that first layer of that weight, I couldn't see anything else beyond the weight. So I needed to address the weight to really see what else was possible. So as I got down to a size between, a 2-4, and even at my wedding, I felt amazing. I felt beautiful. But I remember wearing this dress where my shoulders were showing, and it was a cropped sweetheart top. And I still felt self-conscious. I still felt my posture even was completely different. And looking back, I realized I wasn't really accepting or appreciating the woman I was becoming, right? Because there was more than just the weight. So it's so much more than the weight. And for us and with our clients, we look at this as a jump start, as a stepping stone for them to really see what else is possible.
Yeah, that's even a great tagline. It's actually a tagline my brother would always use with me when I'd be working out at the gym with him. Is I'd be bench pressing and he'd be like, come on, you're more than the weight. But in your case, you are more than the weight. People who are trying to lose the weight, you're more than just the weight that you're losing. And I think just by you sharing, how important of a role that was in your transformation, hopefully inspire others.
Absolutely. Yeah. We hope so.
So, okay. You guys are busy ladies. I mean, obviously you have a partnership, which really does help, I believe, to kind of divide and conquer, because we all have certain gifts and talents that we're great at. And especially with building a business, when you're a solopreneur, most of it falls on your shoulders until you get to the point where you can delegate and hire out. But I would love to hear from you guys how it is that you make it all work. Because, there are equal points of, there's benefits and there's also a little bit of cons. You maybe have to check something with Violet and see, does this look okay? Can I post this? Or maybe, what do you think about this, Lola? Like, should we use this? So,
how did you know?
I think you're in our heads. We actually were discussing this week, and what I recognize is I do have my strengths and she has her strengths, and I definitely have my weakness. And one of my weaknesses is with doing it all is structure, right? I wasn't somebody who was really brought up on structure and organization and excellence, not in that way. And that's really where Violet comes in. So instead of feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm not enough or this or that, her delegation is she takes care of that. And we do have some other people that we have hired, again, outsourcing, but I recognize the strengths and I recognize where we do need to balance each other, where we can appreciate each other at the same time. But for other people who don't have somebody else to rely on, I mean, it's not the end all be all either. There is still time to learn, and you have inspired me as well, Isabel, with your organization and just the top to-dos.
Thank you.
And all of that, and it's really, after hearing it a while, it's like, wow, okay, you know what? Maybe I can incorporate this, because we're so hardwired that this isn't me, this isn't me, this isn't me. And we also become resistant in that state of just saying, okay, this isn't me, I'm not going to do it. But do you need that in your business? And yes, you do. You need that organization. You need that structure. And, so we've recognized where our strengths and where our weaknesses are, and hire out. I mean, if you need to, because that's a critical piece. I'm seeing now, it's taken some years, but I'm seeing how critical that piece is for a functioning optimal business and work ethics as well.
There are your suggestions for, what tools you actually utilize to get it all done. Would you say hiring out and delegating is your biggest suggestion?
Well, I think that if you're not at that point, and even if you are at that point, so much, it's your business. You still have to oversee your business and know what's going on all the time, especially when it comes to your clients, and that everyone is always taken care of absolutely supremely. And so I prioritize, you just used the word prioritize your day. each day. What is really, what is the must do today? And if we do that each day, and we do, then the sub things, if they happen, great, it takes the overwhelm away. What must happen today? And then also dividing your week out and sticking by that. Your client days, your coaching days, your discovery session days or consultation days, your meeting with other people, networking, partnership days. For us, it's sometimes actually going to doctor's offices, because a lot of doctors do refer to us. If you separate those days, it's a lot easier to know, oh, this day I'm doing this, and that's what my priority is today, because this day is set aside for that.
And this was my challenge, because it's like, okay, here we're doing QuickBooks, here we're doing clients, here we're doing discovery, and here we're doing marketing, right? And it's like the brain has to switch every hour to, okay, I'm focused. And just after that hour, hour and a half, whatever it is, you're getting into it, you're getting the groove going. It's like switch. So this is something that I've had to learn, the benefits of keeping that focus on that one day, so you have pretty much the same thoughts, and you're able to really go deeper with what needs to be done. And then me and Violet working together, that we're on the same page as well, to make sure that there's a level of consistency and we're both congruent, so in that way.
I'm hearing from you, number one, scheduling, which has really been kind of like a pattern with all the other interviews that I've had on, is just the fact that, you need to really schedule what it is that you desire to work on. But you're even talking about scheduling kind of in batches, as to, say you're recording a video, that you record any other videos that you might need to record down the road, because, your hair's done, your makeup's done, you may as well record. So are you finding that batching really helps you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I remember one of the first coaches that I looked to, which was Allie Brown. She's very successful. She says that when she's going to town, whatever she needs to do, that she has to get her hair done, her makeup done, she does whatever else she wants to look really great for that day. She sticks it all in that day, so she doesn't have to have the makeup and the hair done again that week, So that made a lot of sense to me, Of course, as a woman, we always want to feel like we look good in every day. I think we should take time for ourselves every day, but that, all out look good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's camera ready, and then there's like everyday ready.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's feeling good for me, and I know for Violet, many times it's about feeling good in what you're doing. So that physical appearance, even though nobody may be seeing you that day, or you may be doing a phone consult or something like that, it's about how you feel, and everybody is different. So it's all about what is going to allow you to have a higher level of vibration. When I say higher level of vibration, is your optimal performance. Right, to where you air success, where you feel success, where you're empowered, and it just brings this whole new level to the game that we're playing as business women.
Yeah, I hear that, and I have to say, the other day, I'm working from home. We're all mostly working from home, as coaches, and I would walk around the house in my heels, because I just felt empowered in my heels. So it's okay to do those things. And yeah, I do believe it brings you to a different, almost like a different level of mentality. When you're helping clients or whatnot, you totally bring that energy to that. And this is, I think, a perfect spot for you guys to talk to us more about your Bodyluxe coaching, because I think Bodyluxe kind of encompasses this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so what we're about is woman finding that luxe in her life again. Some have had it and lost it, like myself, through my journey, and some never found it yet, right? But there is a luxe woman in all of us, and that definition, like Lola said, it can be different for everyone, but we want you to find her. And why we focus on weight loss and health is because we're not about weight loss at the jeopardy of your health. We're at weight loss working with your health, right? Why we focus on that is because that's where our journey started. Because when we shed some weight, for me, when I looked in the mirror and recognized myself again, because for too long I looked in the mirror and it wasn't the person inside looking back at me. It was like, who is this? And how did I get here? So we address the weight first. because shedding that layer for a lot of women like myself is so empowering. It's something many women have tried for years. And if they're not yo-yoing up and down, they just can't lose no matter what they do, or they're losing, gaining, losing, gaining. And that sometimes is worse, because with each loss and gain, you're a failure again in your eyes.
Yeah, that gets ingrained. It really does.
It just brings you down more and more. And then how many times we meet women that are even afraid to try again?
Yeah.
They're even afraid to try again because they have failed so many times. They've let themselves down so many times. And that is not living a luxe life. That is not living with your head held high and strutting your stuff and being in your most powerful self, giving the gifts to the world that you possess. That is not. So we're going to help you find her. And it starts with many with that weight, with their health, and just go from there.
And what we say is what optimal health isn't a luxury. Health isn't a luxury. You know, it's not that you need to be this specific in order to have health. And that's what I love about luxe, is because there's so many different facets of being luxe. You know, for me, being luxe has been the balance of the health and feeling good in my skin, you know, whatever weight I'm at. But also, you know, when I go to the doctor, I know he's going to be like, wow, this is great. Like, my energy is increased and I have more time with my family, and I can treat my husband like the king he is because he sees me like the queen I am. You know, so to me, those facets are more about luxe, you know, and if you want to feel sexy, right, that's part of being luxe, because that edge, that riskiness, we've talked about this, Isabel, that sexiness, that sensuality, you know, I think that's so important too, as being feminine women, right, being feminine.
And another thing that Lola reminds me of is that, you know, I dealt with migraines for years, and it became the norm for me. I took Advil every day, several times a day for years, because the only way the doctors could help me was putting me on strong medication. They never gave me, like, let's look into why you're getting the migraine and see if we can find out the cause, right? It was just, these drugs will help you. I don't get them anymore. I don't suffer from them anymore.
Wow.
But
that actually is just really ingrained in overall health.
Right. But also, it's stress. It can be not sleeping because you don't allow yourself to rest, because as women, we're told, you know, what we wear as a badge of honor is that, you know, everybody else is first. And if I have to get 3 hours sleep a night to do everything that I need to do and look great, you know, doing it, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's all at the detriment of our health and our well-being. And living a luxe life is putting your well-being first, because we can't be there for others if we're not here. We only have one body per journey. So we have to take care of it. And so why I don't get those headaches anymore, yes, started with my diet and my addressing why I was getting them, looking deeper. Right? One of our mentors in nutrition, what she always says is, what's going on in there? Let's find out what's going on in there. Yeah. You know, all of it is a symptom. Rashes are a symptom. Headaches are a symptom. What? Sorry?
Let's be curious and figure it out. Because the more questions that you ask, the deeper you can get in.
One more time, Isabel?
Oh, I said no, about being curious. And because you're curious, the more questions that you ask, the deeper you can actually get into the root of the problem.
So that's part of our coaching, is always coming from a place of curiosity. Every step of the way when we help our clients, it's from a place of curiosity. And the other thing our clients appreciate is, rather than doctors that give up on people, like, you know, losing weight or just take these diet pills or this, that, is we partner with them, and they feel like they have a partner with them to really uncover what's going on. And many times why we're suffering physically is because of, again, that mental piece or that emotional piece.
Yeah.
So that is how our Luxe Body program is different. We don't think really you can address one part of the woman and not the other, right? So you can go to someone who just addresses food, And then you can go to someone else who addresses the emotional and mindset piece. We want to join them together because we know that that is really how to truly support our clients and get them where they want to be. We have to deal with both. Yeah. We have to deal with both. What's going on in the emotions, the mind, the stress level, and what's going on in the body. There's no separating it. We're one circuitry, and we have to address both at the same time. And then when we do that, and that woman can find her real strengths and again, strut who she really is proud of. That's the luxe body. That's the luxe woman.
A lot of people think when they're talking about health that, you know, Violet's always saying this, is that from the neck down, you know, nobody thinks about the mind and how that's impacted, right? And even different diseases now that are out there impact greatly the mind, the brain, the thoughts, you know, the moods even. So if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling in a sense of depression or anxiety, like a lot of this is definitely health related to the food and the lifestyles that we have. And we've even transformed a lot of these doctors who kind of had one way of seeing, working with us, that, wow, maybe there's something here to this piece. And it's been really fascinating for them to even be open, right? Because we have even some clients that they'll get blood work done. They'll feel low energy, fatigue, lethargic, whatever it is, and their tests are coming out completely normal. So they seem paper-wise that they're healthy, right? And they're like, there's nothing wrong with me, but I feel this way, but there's nothing wrong with me. And that's where we're able to come in and sometimes address more of the emotions and more of the eating, and even looking at possible sensitivities in the body with food, gluten, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I know you and I have had a conversation about gluten and how it actually affected your husband. Wasn't there a story about that? Maybe you'd actually like to share that, because that was really powerful.
Okay, do you want to? Well, it's a long story.
Yeah,
so we don't want to.
It hasn't been shared. It hasn't been shared.
And because it's not our story, it's my son, her husband's story. Of course, we'd want his permission first. Yeah. But let me just make the short of it is that, you know, and by the way, I still have a hard time talking about what happened, you know, almost 2 years ago with my son and not get emotional about it. Mm-hmm. So just to make the long story short, I witnessed my son having a mental breakdown. And I tell people I thought I would witness him walking along the beach stuttering one day, because he was spiraling down so fast and furious and no longer even resembled the man I knew and I raised. And it was all food related. I will just make the short of it. When I got him to the doctors that even knew about this and got him to agree to be tested, and got him on the right diet for him, which, by the way, he didn't need to lose weight, but food affects all of us differently. Mm-hmm. And one thing I like to talk about is quinoa is something he should never eat, but quinoa is something we're all coming to know as a great healthy food, and it is for most of us. So there is no one cookie cutter way for every single person here to be eating for optimal health. So we don't subscribe to veganism or be a vegetarian or eat raw or paleo. We don't, because especially what had hit so home with us, with my son, mm-hmm. we've come to recognize that plays out different in everybody's body. Mm-hmm. And as, you know, processed food continues, and even the way that we're growing our crops continues to deteriorate, there will be different effects on different
That's
people.
A whole another subject, right?
But the fact is that we can explore this with people. What might really be going on? So even with that, even with, again, very stressful, emotional or mind altering or mood altering or personality altering issues, can it be the food? Yeah. It's really something now I believe wholeheartedly about, and because, again, when something hits home, then your eyes are really open. I'm still very emotional about it. And, you know, one day I'm sure it will become part of our business that we talk about this and help others that, you know, may be going through something like this.
You know, there's a saying, what is most personal is most universal, right? So, and being that this was personal for both of us, and especially with me just having my daughter, which is such a critical time. And we have been exposed to so much, right? And my take in this silver lining is, how many more people are going through the same thing? So how many more people in the future are we really able to help with just this awareness?
Yeah, just that's one story alone, I think, is
and what made it difficult is finding anyone that even knew anything about it or that could help us.
That was going to be my next question, is how did you know to actually, like, where to take them to get tested? Because, I mean, how many people are actually dealing with things that, I mean, I've seen pictures of him. I haven't met him in person, but I've seen pictures of him. He's like a walking, statue of David. Like, he's totally the picture of health. Seriously.
And we were training, we were doing, a modified powerlifting, aerobics. I mean, there was just, he was the epitome of health. Here you have this strength and conditioning, vitamin guru, Whole Foods guy, and you would never believe it at age 25 that he was going through this. But one of the doctors that we worked with was actually a functional medicine doctor, and you can go on.
Well, I had just completed a course, just educating myself to help my clients on gluten sensitivities. And I became a certified gluten practitioner, not knowing. It was just several months later, if not only 2 months, that this happened. And when you talk about the universe, I like to refer to it as our creator guiding us and helping us. It was just such a coincidence that I had just completed that program. So when the signs started occurring, I could connect the dots. And trying to convince my husband and Lola that I know this is what's going on. I just took all of this, and it was all there. It was all there in the research. It was all there in the textbooks. It was all there in the course I took. Now it was just finding a doctor that would run the test I knew from the information I learned was necessary. So again, I also found a practitioner like ourselves that helped me, supported me so much. And there's not too many out there. And that's what made me realize this really does have to be a piece of our business one day, because finding her was such a blessing. She was so supportive in helping me help him. Because I was too personally, connected. So that I could bring her in to help us with this case was perfect. So between her and the doctors, but she was a crucial piece also. Understanding fully what the family was going through and what he was going through, understanding the urgencies of what was going on and how we needed to get on this. And then her mediating with the doctors for me. So again, the practitioner and the doctors were important pieces.
And it was funny because she's telling me this information, to say maybe this is what's going on. And I'm in such resistance because of my limiting beliefs of what family life could be and what could go wrong, and this is just like any other situation, or and I was just such in denial. And even after reading all the information and going through Dr. Tom O'Brien, there was a piece of me that was like just still in resistance. And it wasn't until we actually got confirmed with the blood work and seeing the seriousness of this, it was like it hit me like a ton of bricks. It really did, because how do you connect someone's emotions or moods or with food, right? It had never been heard of before. Yeah. And that's what was so fascinating.
I mean, when you shared it with me, I certainly hadn't. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense now that you actually start to dive into it. But I really love the idea that you worked with a practitioner, that specifically kind of coached you through this, and
right. Again, where coaching came into my life again. And you never know, like you talked about earlier about us working together in the business. We actually recently worked with a coach about our different personality types and how best for us to utilize them in our business and in our voice in our business. So where a coach is needed again in your life, you just never know. And there's an app for that, or there's a coach for that, right? So, coaching is relatively new as far as how impactful it can be on people's lives. But of course, I'm an advocate now. You just never know. Again, this is what I do, but I needed her at that time to help us through it as a family.
Some of the best athletes, right? The best athletes and training, they have a coach. I mean, they're successful because they have a coach. So you need a coach.
Yeah, even just push you through.
Yeah.
I mean, to number one, know what it is that you need, but to also be able to hold you accountable and actually see you
Totally
accomplish what you desire.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of delay. Sorry about that. But yeah, I totally agree. And I'm really thankful, number one. I mean, I know this was just kind of off the cuff and I didn't expect it to be there, but you know, it is his story to tell, and I do respect that, but I'm also very grateful that you shared what you did share, because for those people who are watching or who are going to watch the replay, you know, they might be suffering from something similar and not even, like you said, connect the dots that there could be something like in your diet that could actually make it such a huge difference. And like we said, you know, he is the epitome of a healthy person, and he was back then as well. So you wouldn't look at him and say that there's, you know, something that you're ingesting that is causing you harm.
Isabel, how I always try to explain this is that, again, we're one circuitry. And I often use the example with clients of a metal plate. It's as if, you know, we have this metal plate going through our neck, and like everything we do only affects, or everything we eat only affects from here down. Nothing goes up, it just goes down. And we're always hearing people talk about, well, this is good for your bones, and this is heart healthy, and this helps your digestion and your good bacteria in your gut, but they never talk about this can hurt your brain. This can hurt your thinking capabilities. This could give you extreme mood swings. This can cause depression. This could cause early onset of Alzheimer's. What are they talking about with this? The diet we choose to be on. So it doesn't stop here at the neck. Everything we do, from exercise to the food we eat, to be stressing out from the moment we wake up till we go to bed at night, how we choose to live affects every part of that body, because everything's flowing and depending on each other. And most what our body depends on to be healthy in our brain and in our emotions and in our body is a nutrient-dense diet. Give the body what it needs to thrive, and take out of the body what is not working well. And that's different for everybody.
Yeah, completely. Like, I mean, you mentioned the example of quinoa. You know, everybody thinks like quinoa is now the thing that everybody needs to eat, but that was one detriment to his diet.
Right. Yes. Totally. Interesting, right?
And it's all about, too, what's manifested sometimes in health issues is whatever's the weakest link in your body, right? We're all so different, right? So whatever the weakest link, and for many people, it could be that brain, that mood. It could be the thyroid, right? So it depends on what your weakest link is. You know, but genetics isn't everything, and that's another topic, but genetics isn't everything. Just because my mother, my father, and like that's what they had doesn't mean that that's what I'm going to get. And that's why this piece of our environment and our nutrient-dense diet is so important in our mindset.
Well, like I said, thank you again for sharing that part. Again, it wasn't planned, but I'm really glad that you kind of opened up a little bit, and hopefully it'll help anybody listening to this. We're getting actually really close to the end. I'm just going to pop over and see if we have any questions. I did have one question though, and this kind of goes back to you guys working together. And I know the challenges because I've shared with you that I've worked with my husband for a number of years, actually in an office setting, so even more so. But what are some of the actual challenges that actually come up with you guys working together? I mean, obviously being, you know, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, and there's got to be some challenges. What are some of those things that come up, and how is it that you guys work through them?
To me, it's been really recognizing where our strengths and where our weaknesses are, and where we can attribute, and how to appreciate one another, and not being in the mindset of comparing. Like for me, I'm sure being a partner could be a little different, but being my mother-in-law, like feeling the need that I need to fill her shoes, right, in a very big way, because she does things so different and so great, right? I admire that so much, but not getting lost in the sense of trying to be her and really finding how to be myself still, but taking bits and pieces that will allow me to learn how to apply different things in my life that will add to myself. And just the stigma of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law working together, and even people outside who have, you know, not so much, I mean, I guess you could say opposed or been in resistance to us even working together, for fear that, oh my God, this is going to end badly, or this isn't going to work. And the longer we're together, it's like the more, in a sense, not that we're looking to prove them wrong, but it's happened that way. Like the story of Ruth and Naomi. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bible story. Ruth and Naomi is something that really calls to mind with me and Violet. It's like that is, in a sense, our relationship. You know, we have our own families, we have our own mothers, but we really are the best of friends as well. You know, and so just really looking at where I don't compare myself to her, and where I can take bits and pieces to help myself even be better. And, you know, and in that way, for me, it's been great.
Well, you guys have actually done a really great job at pointing those things out and just being able to kind of meld it together. And also, I mean, I think at the end of the day, what really comes down is your desire to want to see this through, and your desire to want to, you know, show Violet in the best light and show Lola in the best light, that you guys really just have this inner desire to, to have it be in the positive way.
Your turn.
Oh, no,
your turn.
I mean, no, the dynamics is definitely your family. Like you said, you worked with your husband. So the family dynamics is going to flow over into your business. So I think it's the determination to keep this a professional relationship when we're doing business. When we're doing business, you know, we're partners, and we act like business women, and we keep it professional, and we have mutual respect. But again, there was a coach recently that we worked with to help us see each other's strengths, differences, and how we can gel them to be the best unit, the best working unit together, not separate, but a unit. And so again, where that coaching comes in, you know, I'm not going to say there aren't challenging days, but our love and respect for each other will never let any differences override. You know, our love and respect always trumps.
And I think it goes back to what is your top to do. So if I have one direction, and this is something that I'm needing to hone back in, you know, being that, you know, I'm floundering with all these different ideas. I'm in one direction and she's in one direction, and the priorities of the day aren't going to get done that way. So coming to grasp with, okay, this day needs to be a meeting for the week, or we need to set out what our goals are. And that's something that's actually in place now, that we're having weekly meetings to where we can really get in and anchor in what needs to get done and what needs to be focused, and then entertain my ideas further if needed, right?
No, that's great. I mean, the fact that you're actually taking the time to put those things in, because they are very important, and they're not going to get done unless we actually schedule it in. So you actually just touched on something for the top to do, and we're actually getting to the end of our show here, and I would like to hear from each of you, because I'm sure you have a combined top to do, but maybe also your individual. So what is your top to do for 2015? So basically your big goal for 2015. You'd like to share with the group?
Well, my top to do for 2015 has been a process of taking my business from a brick and mortar that we had for years, a physical office, and taking it to an online virtual coaching business. And we're there, we're online, yay. And I closed my brick and mortar. That's been one of my biggest fears, because I knew how to do the other. I was doing it for years. I knew how to get clients in the door the other way. This is a whole new way. So that's been my top, I guess that's been my biggest thing for 2015, is to accomplish this, and we're well on our way of doing it. And help women now, not only all over this country, which we've been doing for years, virtual coaching, but even all over the world now.
That's wonderful. Big check mark on that one, because I saw the website and it's fabulous.
Thank you. And yours?
Well, I thought you were going to say it, but we talked about this too, was by the end of the year, launching a group program, you know, and working on Periscope and getting a little more of the consistent marketing where we're present now together, because it could be very hairy, you know, trying to do virtual live and even doing like interviews like this. I mean, the visibility, the exposure, I see how crucial it is. And I know Violet sees that now. So us being as a pair present, like on these different marketing and social media platforms, I think is definitely going to be for 2015.
And we'll learn from you, Isabel.
Yes.
We'll learn from you.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Well, those are actually some great goals. And this has actually been a wonderful hour. You guys have really, I think, given people, at least our viewers, a lot of great information, things to look into for themselves, you know, especially with the personal story that you shared, and also with the offers that you have with White Iris. So actually, that was one question that I didn't ask, and I did want to ask was the name. Obviously, White. I get that. So would you like to share with the viewers how you guys came up with the name for your company?
I'll share briefly.
No, I'll be quicker, so I'll go.
Okay.
Actually, we changed our name. This is our third name, but I was inspired with this name after going to a retreat, which was a coaching certification course, but also self-development. And when I came home sitting alone and reflecting, I texted Lola that name as she was pregnant with her first daughter and my first grandchild and granddaughter, Irissa. So the iris is actually, Irissa is actually a form of iris. Irissa is actually a form of iris. So it's our last name, of course, White. And then Iris is after our baby Irissa. And then the transformational coaching and wellness speaks for itself.
And the name Iris or Irissa is, you know, a Greek name, and it actually means rainbow. So it meant that she was all the colors of the rainbow. And what they said is that she was going to be a messenger of love, light, and peace, and to make all happy, you know. So just when I heard the definition of the name Irissa, me and my husband, we just knew that this was it. And we waited till 9 months to actually have this name for this baby girl. And when I heard it would be the face of our business, it really lit me up, and it inspired both of us, I think, to want to really recognize our why and why we're doing this.
Well, you guys are building a legend, and it is legendary. So, well,
thank you for having us.
Thank you
so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you, viewers, for joining and staying with us live, and for those of you watching the replay. So we will see you back here in 1 week's time, and I will be interviewing Dawn Sarah, who's all about sex and relationships. So tune in.
Ooh, we'll be on.
Well, yeah, we had some interesting conversations already, so looking forward to that. But why don't you guys finish off and share with everyone where they can find you, and we'll say our goodbyes.
WhiteIrisTC.com, which stands for Transformational Coaching. So WhiteIrisTC.com. Look us up.
Wonderful. Thank you again, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.